The title of this book is The Fear of Death. Isaac G. Lee presents. What is the meaning of death to human beings? According to Merriam-Webster, death is defined as the permanent cessation of all vital functions, the end of life. It signifies the permanent termination of our visions, dreams, efforts, businesses, relationships, and hopes while we are alive. So, what does the end of life truly mean? It means the failure to sustain one's life, the reduction to zero, the vanishing into nothingness, and the return to the origin that predates the world. Death itself surpasses human capabilities. Through my research on human behavior and history, I have discovered that we seek the path to eternal life. Take, for example, the magnificent pyramids in Egypt. Why did they construct such monuments for themselves? At the peak of their power, the pharaohs desired to preserve their lives for eternity with mummification in the pyramids. They attempted to combat the power of death with human strength. However, whatever we do to overcome the power of death is futile and meaningless. We are utterly helpless in the face of death's power. All our efforts are directed towards seeking eternal life, in other words, desiring to live forever. Yet, throughout the entirety of human history, we have proven time and again that we are ultimately destined to die. That is the meaning of death for humankind. Therefore, there is no need to strive to overcome the power of death through our own strength. We find ourselves in a position where we cannot help but be humble before the power of death. It signifies that we must humble ourselves before the merciless truth that holds authority over human beings through the power of death. Even though we may dislike obeying the truth and the power of death, and regardless of our aversion to obeying anyone, we gradually come to realize the existence of God, who is invisible to our eyes, and we submit to the truth and the power of death. We may argue that God is dead, but the truth and the situation remain unchanged despite our efforts. In the end, human beings cannot help but acknowledge the truth and recognize the existence of God. The first key to solving all the problems within human society lies in admitting the fact that we are destined to vanish in an instant. Secondly, we need to acknowledge the existence of God. And thirdly, we must obey the God who has bestowed upon us the destiny of death. In other words, the meaning of death is that every individual is ultimately destined to acknowledge and obey God, because regardless of our will, the destination of death awaits each of us. Therefore, we must humble ourselves before the destiny that pulls us towards the point of death. In reality, the fear of death is redundant because our destiny is predetermined as soon as we are born into the world, even before conception in our mother's womb. It inexorably approaches us step by step, day by day, whether we understand and accept it or not. It is akin to a tyrant ruling over the fate of humankind, isn't it? The meaning of death for humankind is evidence of God's existence, a total recall of existence, a milestone that prompts us to remember the origin of life, and the starting point of humility and the search for God's mercy. The title of this book is The Fear of Death. Isaac G. Lee presents.